Our guest today is Dominic Pernomo. He's a restaurant owner in Albany, New York. And Dominic, you own two restaurants, a fine dining spot and the casual American restaurant where you are right now. Have you noticed any sort of shift in your customers since Trump's tariffs were announced? Are people holding on to their money more?
Yes, good evening, Jake. Thank you very much for having me on and for sharing our story. We have definitely seen a pullback on foot traffic, people coming in, more or less since the April 7th, the Liberation Day. Our first quarters were soft for many restaurants around the country, us included, and we've seen some consumer confidence drop off in the last 3 weeks or so.
Obviously, this creates a lot of uncertainty for you in an already volatile industry. Restaurants, as I don't need to tell you, are a risky venture. How are you managing?
We're doing the best that we can with, trying to get ways to increase traffic and to come up with some other ideas. But it's, like I said, the squeeze has been on. Our costs are up 40%, cost of goods, 30% in labor since the pandemic. While menu prices have really only gone up about 20 to 25%. Restaurants across the country average 3 to 5% profit margins. So there's really no place to go, but unfortunately to pass those costs along to consumers.
What products do you rely on that might have been impacted by any price increases, or you anticipate they will be impacted?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of items. We have cuisine from around the world on our menu, so there's a lot of things that we just can't make in the United States. Cocoa, coffee, coconut milk, certain spices and chilies, things like that we import. Most of our meat, fish, all comes domestically. We're in upstate New York where we have an incredible amount of locally grown farms and produce, but that's only about 4 or 5 months a year. And our consumers, they want a tomato on the BLT or on the burger in January. And to do that, we have to get product from outside the country.
The Trump administration's goal with the tariffs, they say, is to bring manufacturing back home and to even the playing field. Do you think it is possible for them to achieve what they want to achieve without hurting American businesses such as yours?
I don't think so, and that's why I think, as a restaurant industry, what we're asking is the administration to do a carve-out for food products. The United States has a trade surplus, or even depending on the year. We export about $190 billion in produce and agriculture, and we import about the same amount. So it's really a trade of what's available in the U.S. versus what's not. So, we think that it would be fair for the administration to do a carve-out for food. There's already enough food insecurity in the United States. 12% of people in the U.S. are food insecure. Stalling that food imports, could be another $2 billion a year in wasted product, plus another $12 billion in additional costs that are ultimately going to be passed on to the consumer.
Dominic, I have to bid you farewell, but before you go, for anybody in the Albany area, what are the names of your two restaurants?
Yono's is our fine dining restaurant, and DP and American Brasserie, both located in downtown Albany.
All right, I'll look you up if I'm ever up there. Dominic Pernomo, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Many businesses are moving through their pre-tariffed inventory now, which means higher prices could be coming your way soon. So when might you actually feel the sticker shock on some of your favorite clothes or shoes or other products that come from overseas? Well, CNN's Vanessa Yurkevich is near the port of New York and New Jersey, which recently became the busiest port in the country, partly because of this. Vanessa, how are tariffs impacting retailers' inventories?
Well, as you mentioned, Jake, the Port of New York and New Jersey, which you can see just behind my right-hand shoulder here, became the busiest port in part because retailers were bringing in tons of products and cargo to try to beat those tariffs that were going to affect in April. And retailers who have stockpiled are starting to move through that pre-tariff inventory. According to Wells Fargo and the Federal Reserve of St. Louis, essentially, businesses have about 1.3 months of inventory. And once they move through that, they're going to have to bring new inventory in, and that will be at the tariffed rate. Now, at the Port of New York and New Jersey, about 25% of the volume that comes into the port behind me is from China. They say that they expect another surge to come in ahead of that 90-day pause on those reciprocal tariffs in case they go into effect. But after that, they expect a slowdown. They expect businesses businesses to start to pull back because those prices will go up and it'll be a lot more expensive for businesses to get their goods into the country, Jake.
Vanessa, when can shoppers expect to see this price hike?
Well, a boat that is leaving from China today will take about 5 to 6 weeks to arrive here at the port of New York and New Jersey. So it depends on the size of the business and how much they have stockpiled. A smaller business, we've heard that many of those businesses are going to have to start raising prices after Mother's Day. Other businesses who have more supply, they can start to push those prices off, but likely in the next couple months. According to Flexport, they're an ocean carrier broker, they say that back to school items and holiday items are going to see higher prices. They also note that key products that we get from China, like sneakers, footwear, toys, those are likely going to see higher prices sooner. Also to note from Flexport, they said that some ocean carriers are already canceling their routes to different ports in the United States because it is just becoming too expensive. Jake, ultimately then, that could lead to some shortages and then inflation for U.S. consumers. Jake?
Vanessa Yurkevich near the port of New York and New Jersey, thanks so much. I want to try to understand what's going through President Trump's mind. I'm not a psychologist, but we do have on tap here former Trump Communications Director Alyssa Farah Griffin, who understands him. Alyssa, to the extent you can, help us understand what you think President Trump's mindset is when it comes to the back and forth on the tariff policies, which are definitionally erratic. Is there a method to the madness?
I hope that there is, because the U.S. economy and actually the global economy kind of hangs in the balance. But most likely what I think happened is the president was pitched this idea that he announced on what he called Liberation Day, that was this idea of introducing a very protectionist American economy, something that certain advisors around him, Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro, really think will work, that we're going to bring all this manufacturing back to the United States. It's going to create wealth and prosperity. But the plurality of economists, left, right, and center, say this is not possible in a global economy. And I think once he came out with sort of these sweeping tariffs, we've seen him pull them back and can continually make these changes, he's realizing he needs an off-ramp. Like, the writing is on the wall. You know, CNN reported that this week he met with Walmart and Target CEOs who warned him about supply chain disruptions and higher costs. But the question is really who is going to present him some kind of an off-ramp that he's going to be able to present as a win to the public. And if that's going to happen kind of remains to be seen at this point.
I know some people view Trump's tariffs as just a negotiating point, part of the art of the deal tactics. But some Trump supporters out there, including we heard from Citadel CEO Ken Griffin, huge Trump supporter, they're convinced that America's reputation is damaged. I want you to take a listen to what Mr. Griffin had to say yesterday.
Right. The United States was more than just a nation. It's a brand. It's a universal brand, whether it's our culture, our financial strength, our military strength. America rose beyond just being a country. It was like an aspiration for most of the world. And we're eroding that brand right now.
Do comments like that bother President Trump, do you think? Because that's not some left-wing freak. That's, as he might say, that's a supporter. That's a big MAGA guy.
Yeah, I do think it moves the needle. I think Jamie Dimon, we saw he went on Fox Business and Donald Trump announced that he was going to pull back some of the tariffs. And something that I do think actually may influence him is there's been a lot of polls around this, but Fox News released a poll that showed his support on the economy is down to 38%. That's more than a 10-point drop on an issue the American public trusted him more on and elected him on. So I think when he sees his own allies and he sees a favorable news outlet reporting these numbers, he can't ignore it and shake it. So I think the next step is he's got to decide what the policy is actually going to be and then get out and explain to the American public and the world that's watching what he's going to do and how it's supposed to work.
The president seems to treat geopolitics and global trade negotiations kind of the same way. And some people say, like, almost as if you would sell a condo. Like the idea of here's our brand and it's the best in the world. This is our, you know what I mean? Like he's selling a product. Now, it's worked for him politically to get elected twice. Is that the same tactic he tries behind closed doors?
It is. I think he sees most things as a negotiation, and he looks for leverage and he uses it when he thinks that he has it. But I think what Ken Griffin said so wisely, and I hope resonates with advisors in the White House, is the brand of America is bigger than any one president, than any one industry, than any one, trade deficit we may have with a country. It's this aspiration. And I think that's what's kind of been missing from the policy rollout as we've seen them. Listen, this president, I would hope that there's advisors around him who are reminding him, whether it's geopolitics, whether it's the war in Ukraine or sweeping tariffs, doing things quickly and over social media is often not the best way to do it. It's often going to lead to a worse result. There's a reason many of us tried to keep him from tweeting at times when we could, but I don't anticipate that's going to end anytime soon.